or a great football player?
One word.
One word. Tom Brady.
Football.
Nope.
Yeah.
Put him after.
Trump?
Steve
Donald?
Jobs. Steve Jobs.
Yes.
Okay.
Terminator.
Michelin Man.
Stop.
John Wayne.
The classic Gramp story that I always think of is just playing family games around holidays.
He was the guy that, without intending to be the funny one, when we play family games, always stole the show. He was the funniest.
Whether it be charades or salad bowl or the name game, he would give it his best shot. Everybody else was laughing with him, you know.
Well, we actually met at the Seven Stone Steps, Lincoln House in Casnovia. He was fun and talkative and easy to be around.
The most selfless guy.
He never had an unkind word about anybody.
So we grew up way out in the country and, you know, made our own fun. And Dad was definitely kind of the leader in that in a lot of ways. We had a riding mower and he would put us on the mower with him and drive around the yard and create a little path for us.
Strawberry Lane.
Yeah, out in the deep grass.
It doesn't matter if, you know, he'd known someone for a few minutes and talked to them just in a small conversation, or if you'd known him your whole life. You could just see in his eyes how much he cared about people. I think that was Gramp's best trait.
He was very natural with everybody.
And that was so important to him. Respect for other people was huge with Dad. And I think we parent our own kids that way too, because it was just sort of a part of how Dad had so much integrity and how he respected everybody from every walk of life.
Ever since I was little, I'd always looked up to him. And this is a guy who didn't even go to college, you know, hardly finished high school.
In the oncologist's office, and he was coming in with the test results, and we didn't know what to expect, had no idea what to expect. And the doctor sat down with us and said, yeah, it's stage 4 lymphoma. And we sat there, I couldn't believe it, any of us.
And he came through it with flying colors, did really well, got rid of it. And we were all immensely relieved, of course. And that was in 2010. And everything went along really well until 2013, and it was discovered again.
And I think we were all kind of stunned and looking at one another. And Dad turned to us and said, we're gonna beat this thing. First words out of his mouth.
He was never down, Dad was never down, Dad was always upbeat, and never felt at any time, I think, that this was gonna get him or beat him.
And he'd go in for these treatments, and he'd leave everyone there feeling better and happy and laughing and
Joking with the nurses, totally inappropriately, but joking.
Yeah.
Because he enjoyed people so much, he immediately took to doctors, nurses, technicians, the infusion people, everybody, and they all in turn really, really liked him.
And you would know things about them. They'd say, well, that gal who helps me, her son does this, and do you know they used to, yeah, I mean, really, he knew everything about everyone there.
Because even the most upbeat people would have down moments and kind of feel not sorry for themselves, but scared and worried about what was going to happen. But he never.
And I think that's what made him beat it, because he had the attitude that he never complained from the treatments. He never said he felt sick. He never missed anything. I mean, even though he might have looked like he was sick, he never complained.
He wasn't your average patient.
And some of his most valuable lessons and traits that I learned was just being a good person, being kind to people.
Remember the good times and the fun, because that's the kind of guy he was.
I think one of the things I learned very early on, just especially as a kid, was how valuable a sense of humor is. And I remember as a kid, you know, seeing that and being like, wow, that has a stronger effect on anybody than than anything else in the world. Everybody in my family values kindness and generosity, and that was all Gramp.
You'd say, hey, how you doing, Dad? And he'd say, oh, good, good. Well, how are you? And he'd start in on some little detail about something in your life. He remembered things about people.
He did. He remembered these funny details. He'd be like, how's that cute little redhead that you went to college with? Is she still in Boston? And how's
We'd
it?
be like, who?
Who?
Dad?
Right.
Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he'd remember some random fact about that person
Yeah.
too, you know, and
Yeah.
throw it out there. Yeah, and then he would always end it with like, and so how is your car running? How are your tires? You got good tires?
What kind of gas mileage you get on that?
Yeah.
What happened in July started on July 2nd. John was doing some gardening out by our driveway down near the road, sort of, and apparently either lost his balance or was dizzy and fell fairly quickly.
And I remember getting the call and hearing that he had fallen, and he was in the hospital and scraped up pretty good. I just remember not even thinking that anything was gonna happen, because the dude has lived through heart attacks.
I got a call at 11 o'clock from Uncle JT saying that Gramp had taken a turn for the worse and that he was on a ventilator being kept alive till we all got there. And I remember I threw my phone and I lost it.
Said and got in our cars and raced back to be with him. And Jay arriving and getting there, and all of us being with Dad. And I will never, as long as I live, forget all of us holding one another and Dad. We all touched him, and we all held hands, and we all had our arms around each other through his last moments.
And it was the hardest thing I've ever done.
It's just like you never expect it.
When it was all over and down the road, I counted dozens and dozens and dozens, hundreds of cards, all saying in general more or less the same thing. What a great guy he was, what a kind and loving, generous, thoughtful person he was.
And the turnout for that funeral just was proof to how many people and how many lives he touched.
And then I had seen the success poem, which when I read it again, I was like, gosh, this was like it was written for Gramp. And then so Jay and Amy and I just kept looking at it and coming up with story after story that went with every line of the success poem. And that seemed like it was a perfect fit.
Because John was very special. He was very special, and it's just sad to me that you have to be gone for so many people to realize how really wonderful you are. It's hard to think about that. And we all miss him very much. Today is Thanksgiving, and it's the first holiday we've been together of any importance without him here. It's difficult. It's very difficult.
When I go down, hopefully I want to have that same impact on people. That's the goal.